They can blue light on. Okay.
Anybody else have any other concerns with all these changes? The way that big black buffer, the highway corridor district will work is, as you'll see, a lot of those parcels are not fully within that area. So any part of a parcel that has that corridor district on top would have to abide by the rules of the corridor district. Anything outside of it on that same parcel would then abide by the underlying zoning, which is where you'll see a lot of that SF10.
So, for example, so if we're taking this right now, it's labeled as 7.5. They have the right to do the 7.5 lots, or they have to go to the overlay, or they have the
If
option
the
of overlay.
overlay is on top of it, then they have to do the overlay
So
within
it's not
that
really
area.
residential then at that point.
No.
Okay.
As long as so the way overlay districts work is you have your underlying zoning. Anything that goes over top, that is the rules and requirements of that piece of property, of that area of that piece of property. Anything outside of that would then go to your underlying zoning. Or if there's anything that is not mentioned in the overlying zoning, that then falls to the underlying. But the way the highway corridor district is going to work and how it is written in the ordinance is that anything within that highway corridor district area has to abide by general commercial district regulations.
Okay. The only problem I see with that is that we got a lot of already platted residential lots that are located in here. So what happens if they want to come in and build a house on an existing lot, or tear down a house and build another house? Is that permitted, or is it not going to be
So
permitted?
zoning only works by the change of use.
Okay.
So zoning does not change until the use of that building, that lot changes. So if it is single family now, it is single family until that use changes, until somebody would like to come in and do it as the highway overlay district.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then,
because your black line goes straight through Indian Oak subdivision where there's houses.
and all this can be
In the old
changed.
plan, you had it as blue.
That was the downtown district. This is the new district that we discussed in our last meeting. If there's areas where y'all would like to cut that out, such as Indian Oaks, that can definitely be done.
Well, as long as it doesn't affect the existing residential, I'm
Yeah.
fine with it. As
Oh,
long
it's
as it
not
doesn't affect
classified
yeah.
differently. Somebody can come in and go, oh no, it's industry now.
It's not, now,
Not
mind
industry,
you, if somebody wanted to sell that property and
Reclaim it as,
claim it as commercial,
Commercial?
they could
wow.
Well, if that's the case, then I would say we need to cut out the existing neighborhoods.
Yeah.
within Indian
Yeah.
Oaks.
So
I
we
don't
don't
want
want to
no-
500 is fine, but all the residential neighborhoods that are already platted, we need to cut those out.
Okay, well, you do get into a small, we can't just, because of where y'all's residential is at within the city, we can't just say any residential lot and like do this cookie cutter kind of a line thing. That becomes an issue sometimes, depending on who your legal advice is, because that can start to look like things such as spot zoning, split zoning, those types of situations. However, those already existing subdivisions where those lines are definitely clear and made, we can do that with it.
Because if they replat any of that front, they would
You don't want to have a store in the middle of the
by
neighborhood.
that new, right?
Huh?
If they replat any of that front, it would have to be commercial. You'd have
Yes.
to follow the.
Well, not if they replat it. If that person changes, if somebody would desire to change the use of it,
Right.
it would be changing the use to commercial.
But they would have the right to do it, even if it's in the neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've heard the discussion of Indian Oaks, pulling that out. Now, mind you, you pull it out, you still have those ones right along the highway. Do you want to change that at all?
Well, the existing lots are on the highway frontage, they're already commercial, right?
Yeah, they're already
So those
commercial.
are fine. I'm just saying,
Right.
just take out the actual platted residential lots.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could follow the
Right
existing.
there on
pattern,
Woodland
you know,
Drive, there's houses right there towards the roadside.
Build this,
And then Lake Lane.
Oak Tree, I'm not sure what this
As soon as I understand it.
Well, you can see where the lots are right there, so.
Yeah, I mean, just draw the line down past,
We
behind
just
the
want to take
lots.
the residential that's pre-existing out, right?
Right, the lots that are already there, yeah. Take them out. Because the overlay's not on the lots anyway, right? The black lines back there with the overlay.
It's just the black lines are across the neighborhood, not the the brown X checkers are the actual commercial plots left on that. farm.
So I understand the Indian Oaks discussion of this and that change. However, y'all are making this decision just in regards to Indian Oaks. I need y'all to make this discussion and decision on all existing subdivisions within that front, that lie on the frontage of the highway.
Right, I agree. So all of them are easy except for the Indian Oaks. Indian Oaks has very squirrely roads. Everybody else's subdivisions are graded, so those are very easy to block out. But like I said, I would say just keep the existing commercial, because you already have residential lots platted all along the existing commercial. So I'm assuming that there's an existing meets and bounds for that plat.
I'm sorry, I feel like I've lost the discussion. Indian Oaks, I completely understand. What we will do is those lots that have the hatch over the front, those will be changed to commercial. The black border will go side to side of the Indian Oaks subdivision. It will not cross over into Indian Oaks whatsoever. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Everything else outside of that is where my question lies.
So all of Dobecca, Seagrove, and Timberland, that's all houses.
That's why this is what y'all had discussed in the last meeting is wanting. So that's why I'm, asking us to have this discussion.
Allen Street, that only has a couple houses there.
So we can't just take the existing unplatted properties and do an overlay. We have to do it across the board. That's what I was getting at last time, was that we already have our residential, it's already established. All the vacant property and existing commercial, that's what we need to overlay. But if we can't do that, or if we need to figure out a way to do that.
It becomes, I would like to start this out with, I am not a legal advisor, so I don't want to guide y'all in the wrong direction. However, whenever you start making decisions like that get down to a parcel by parcel decision, that becomes a very gray area in terms of regulation and your legal authority when it comes to zoning. Because while zoning as a tool, that is allowed, that is a legal form of justification of how you do things. And it is for the betterment of the entire community for a laid out plan. However, using it for a parcel by parcel decision or change can become a regulatory taking at the state level if a property owner decided to choose that it looked that way. Depending on the judge you get, depends on if all that fun stuff. At that point, I'm not legal counsel. That would need to go to Lee and her personal opinion. However, we can go in and make changes to this line as you see fit. If you think that maybe it should only be from this street to this street, or only south of 276 instead of north of 276.
What if we just went to what we currently have, which is 200 feet instead of 500?
That can be done as well.
That would probably solve a lot of it.
Okay, so again, I think 200 feet is fine, but what happens if we want a grocery store? We have the ability to go to 500 feet, right? Or are we still stuck at the overlay?
That's a decision for y'all to make. It can be written either way.
Because a grocery store can't be on a 200-foot deep property, but strip center can.
That's a decision for y'all to make. It can be written either way. It's just at that point, you also have to think if you're giving that right to that grocery store, then, so over here by City Hall, by the fire department, these really long lots that go all the way back into these residential areas, you're also giving that same right to those pieces of property as well. Saying that they could do the same thing. They could extend the commercial further back if they saw.
Well, I'm just thinking about some of the neighborhoods that we've just approved, like on Dover and Kings Bridge. I mean, at the front of it's in this downtown or commercial area. How does that affect those houses that we've just approved?
Technically, it doesn't. They're being built and already approved.
Okay.
Well, maybe this line needs to come down here, because this is already pretty much commercial, or in the overlay, the downtown overlay. And this is already all perimeter residential.
Well, there's spots that are.
I know, but as I said, you could probably pull this back 200 feet and then do everything down here 500 feet. And then it takes out all the existing residential out of the overlay. Can you do that? if you were to set a boundary, say you do 200 feet depth from the city limit line to, is that the city park? City park
Mhm.
on the north side, that's 200 feet.
Mhm.
And then that eliminates pretty much all of the residential the existing residential out of the overlay.
Okay, yeah, we can do 200 feet. We can do 200 feet across the board on both sides. That's what Shannon proposed, as she thinks would cause the
That's
least amount of issue.
Primarily what ours is now. Most of our commercial is 200 foot from the highway, so we already have split zoning on some of them. Where we have 200 foot is this, and then this is SF2 or agricultural or
Right.
however it's been done. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still several along the highway that were residential, so.
Okay.
It's kind of a weird.
Well, I think in the end, really, we shouldn't have any residential fronting 276 in the ultimate build out.
That is the ultimate goal.
So I don't know that anything should be
Even
kept
on
that way.
Timberland and those right there, they have commercial along the highway. It's just all houses behind the commercial.
Right.
Cause that's where the antique store and I think it's gonna be a mechanic shop and I'm not sure what the other commercial is gonna be, but he's planning to build on houses all back there. It's already been replatted for it. Down Doveco where all the trailers and rundown everything was that we cleaned up.
Another thing that we could add that I think would help this issue, if y'all would like to keep it 500 for the argument of, larger commercial development, is that we add in the applicability section of this zoning district that it only applies to districts that have parcels that have highway frontage. So your ones that are already in existing subdivisions that might be within the 500 feet, but they don't have highway frontage, well, they would be not included. They would be excluded.
That would fix it.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Because then it makes it touch the highway. So all of that in front of Indian Oaks is already commercial on highway. So then they couldn't touch those houses and flats you're worried about behind that one. That would solve Doveca and Timberland and Seagrove. That would solve Allen and the little bit of Vanceville, Navajo, Aztec, Telephone Road that's involved. I don't think there's any houses in Shenandoah involved. Those are already commercial. It would pretty much fix it.
Yeah.
We only have
Close that first.
a couple houses on the highway left. And we really don't have a lot of houses left. There's that one or two in front of the park. There's the other one that I'm fixing to go through the process of tearing down on the other side of Rustic Oaks. There's a house/business, because it could be either or, over there on the left side, kind of by the Dollar General, one they just redid. In fact, it was sold about the same time you bought yours.
I
The
looked at
white
it.
one.
Yeah, it's actually zoned residential though.
Yes, it has been a house, but we just put it in commercial. But I think
I
he's
think they're
looking
trying
to
to
use
make
that
it,
commercial anyway.
they're trying to sell it as commercial, I think, as a business type thing.
Yeah, the guy bought it and did little stuff here and there, and I think he's actually got it up for lease. But it looks like he intended for it to be commercial from the
I think so.
outside. We don't have a whole lot of residential left on our roads, like on our highway frontage. So that would probably be really good to do.
Is there anyone in opposition of making that one change to the text, not necessarily to the map, that we would make it to be applicable to be within a HCO, that you have to have highway road parcel line touching the highway frontage?
Yeah.
Anyone in opposition?
And that stays at 500 feet.
And that stays at 500 feet. Yes, ma'am.
Just like this map is so much better than our current one.
And this isn't even the final version. Okay.
I know.
So that was item number 1. Is there any other discussion that y'all would like to have in regards to the zoning map? Any other changes y'all would like to see?
Not me.
We're good.
I like
So what that means is I will make that change, and when I come back on November 6th, we will have still a draft. We will change, nothing on the map will change. Text will change in here. So this will be the map on November 6th that y'all will make the recommendation to council to either approve or deny. Okay? Unless we have any other further discussion tonight of any other changes. The next thing I want to review is the land use tables. So I provided each of y'all a new copy of them when I got here today, along with y'all's map. So these were gone through by city staff once again. I did not receive any comments from any commissioner, any chair people on any of y'all's edits that y'all had on any of these. So at this point, it is once again, let's review page by page. If anybody sees any issue, then we will mark it up now, and if not, then this is what will go to the November 6th public hearing date. Anything that has a P on it would be permitted, so automatic allowed use on that property. Anything with a C would be conditional, so that would mean that they would need to pull a conditional use permit. Currently, the city is using what you call special use permits. From discussions with Shannon and also just standards of current state way of doing things in small cities versus big cities, we're leaning towards the new ordinance using conditional use instead of special use. So that'll be a discussion when we get to the text here in a second. But when you see a C, think of an S, think of the special use permits that y'all have been already approving in the past. How to read these tables? On the left, that would be the use of the property. And then on the right, it's divided into two sections, residential and non-residential. And then the letters would regard if it is allowed on that type of property or not. Anything that is blank means that it would not be allowed. Further on in the packet, you will also get to a thing that has a T, and that would be for tentative. So that means it's allowed to be there for a certain amount of time, but then it would have to be temporary. So starting with page 1, this is agricultural uses. Oh, and what this is going to do in regards to y'all's process once this is adopted and Shannon's process once this is adopted is when y'all make decisions, this is what y'all will be going up to. So if somebody wants to come and do something and they're asking Shannon or they come to ask y'all and they say hypothetically they want to do a general farm that includes crops, you would tell them that that is permanent in ag, and that would be if they wanted to, if they have a light industrial, y'all would consider it under a conditional use permit. Anything else, y'all would tell them no. Would be that process.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Under the dairy farms and blah 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 on that line, I know a lot of people have chickens and stuff like that. Is that part of that?
No.
It
So,
has to be like a big
yes,
operation.
this would be a big operation. It says a high concentration of animals. Chickens, the normal limit. There's also now laws within the state of Texas that go above what we can do here, where they have to allow residential owners to have certain rights and properties that cities can no longer enforce or discriminate on. Okay, so those have also been put in place in some areas. So no, this does not mean having a couple backyard chickens or a couple, small animals. This would mean doing it for a commercial purpose.
Okay.
So under plant nursery, growing for commercial purposes and stable as a business, why under general commercial is there not a permit fee for those two items instead of businesses?
So plant nursery growing for commercial purposes, that doesn't necessarily mean that there would be a retail frontage on that property. What that means it would be a wholesaler. So they would be developing plants, trees, orchards, things like that, to then be sold to retail.
Same for stables, that type of?
Stables would be the same way, yes, sir. Stables, the other reason why that wouldn't be allowed in general commercial would be for one horse. Typically, for stable purposes, you have 2 acres for 1 to 2 acres.
It's basically not being used as a business. It's agriculture.
No. Yes. Yes, sir.
That's all I want to make sure.
It's not as a retail. It would be as a business, but not as a retail use.
Right.
Is there any other discussion for anything on page 1?
So why would we allow greenhouses on townhomes but not duplexes?
For
For a greenhouse, for a hobby greenhouse? relying on townhouses but not duplexes.
We might have missed it.
That could be a change.
I don't know how you could fit a greenhouse on either, but it doesn't make sense to limit one and not the other.
So these would be hobby green, this is
These
why
would be
that,
very small.
these would be very small. These would be like the ones you can go buy at Tractor Supply.
Yeah,
Those
they'd be
types of
like
ones.
under 200 square foot type greenhouse.
I will add that.
Need 200 duplex.
Yes. I'm changing it to the text right now. Okay, so we will move on to page 2. If there's no further comments on page 1. Page 2, these are residential uses. Is there any on this one that are odd? No, this is the normal one.
With the bed and breakfast thing that's kind of coming up with the hotels.
The Airbnbs.
Yeah, would that be the same as bed and breakfast inn, or is that?
No, Airbnbs would fall under short-term rentals. Bed and breakfasts would fall as more, they're not used as much anymore. They're starting to become more popular again, but it would be where you would have quite literally a restaurant of some sort downstairs for that breakfast type of aspect, and then a few, a few rentable units as well within it for short-term stay. Airbnbs fall under different rules because of different regulations.
Bed and breakfast wouldn't fall under.
It would fall under part of
Short-term
short-term rentals, but Airbnbs wouldn't fall under bed and breakfast. Would that make sense? B&Bs would fall under
Yes.
short-term. Bed and breakfasts would not fall under Airbnb necessarily.
But you don't necessarily want an Airbnb in your residential
Yes.
because it has commercial to it also.
Yes. You would have changing residents in that building every single day.
Yeah, it would probably be more frequent than even an Airbnb.
It's kind of the middle between an Airbnb and a hotel.
We had somebody that wanted to put one in, but they wanted to use storage containers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This was before I started doing this part. Like I had just started working here and it was a big to-do. I know the city ultimately told them no.
I mean, I've seen bed and breakfast just in somebody's house, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know how you could even regulate that, or is it like you do it under the table?
Yeah.
Well, and they're serving food too. And that would
Serving
not
all the
be, that wouldn't be considered like a cottage foods either.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know how they would do that out of their home because you have to have health inspections, all that stuff to be able to open that business to the public. Cottage foods is different. You can do that in your home, but not that.
Are there any other questions in regards to table 2? Okay. Moving to table 3. On this one, you will see 2 lines that are highlighted. Just know y'all don't have much control over those. I will point that out in a couple different places as we go.
Yeah,
through
there's
this.
several of those.
Same with halfway house. There's multiple on this page, so I'm just going to start at the top. Church, temple, place of worship. The city does not have any ability to mandate that. Community home, family home. Once,
Can't mandate that in a recreational area, but the church can.
You can't tell them where
Well,
they
I have
can or
that flag,
cannot
why do
do
we
that.
have all these permitted?
yeah, you cannot do anything.
Business industries.
Yes.
But you can
Because we don't
regulate
have a
a
choice.
steeple though, that's the.
No.
Yeah.
They can violate zoning rules.
There is a
McKinney.
lawsuit going through the state right now.
McKinney.
I'm not even going to get into that, but there is a major lawsuit going on about that right now.
They have
Yes.
more rights than we do.
Yeah.
Yes, currently you can. Give it
Wow.
until this lawsuit is over. I'm not quite sure that's how that's still going.
Yeah.
So yeah, church, you cannot do anything. The 2 that are highlighted, you cannot do anything. Charitable, no, yep. Library, public, y'all do have choice on that one. However, since that would be a public library, hence the city would have say in what it's doing, because most likely that means it would be a city-owned library. We permit that everywhere for the most part. I know right now y'all's current one is not owned by y'all. However, still that's typically permitted across the board because it is public. Putting a small library in a residential area isn't typically seen as a downside. It would be seen as a plus.
But you got
Next-
in light industries and,
Mhm.
I mean, you're gonna put a public library in.
if they want to. Same with the care facility, no. Charitable nonprofit organization, that one is another one that don't seem to have much.
Well, we have conditional on the
Yes.
residential,
Yes.
so we have a little control
Yes.
on that one.
Same with the
We
community
have
homes and the
ability
family
to
homes.
Say no on that one.
Yes, they have to prove their reason as to why they should be allowed in that area. Same with the community home and the family homes. Y'all have some ability to say no, but y'all can't just outright not allow it. Parsonage, same thing. I think church, again, can't really do much there. And then school K through 12, again, not much of a choice with that one. I apologize, that is pretty much the only page that happens on. But if there's no issues on any of the other things besides those ones that I mentioned, please say something now. No? Okay. This one, again, you will see all the way across a temporary classroom structures for churches and schools. Once again, one of those categories that the city does not have much control over.
Parks and playgrounds, public or municipal.
Should we not make contractor temporary on-site construction offices in the business parks and the mixed use
That one is allowed across the board.
downtown district?
That one's allowed across the board. Which one?
Mine that shows two, I guess that's the old one.
I was about to say, yeah, I brought y'all a new
Okay.
packet.
We made a lot of modifications to this week.
Yeah.
Done yes, 2 days ago.
Actually, I didn't even have this one
Well,
till today, because we made
Okay,
changes,
now
I
I
sent it
see,
to her, and then she brought it with her.
I
Home
see it now.
occupation, what is that entitled?
Home occupation, so that's a definition defined within the ordinance.
It's in the zoning ordinance.
It is the way we have it written within the zoning ordinance is an occupation that would not have any burden to the current residential area. So think of somebody running like iFixit computer business out of their house. One person might be at their house every couple, at once a week to pick up or drop off a
What
laptop.
is it? Employees are restricted.
Employees are restricted,
No
yes.
excess. You can't have a whole bunch more traffic. You
Mm-mm.
cannot create a whole bunch more trash. No noise. 200.
So no drug dealers?
Yeah, it has to be a legal use.
That's gonna be your police department. I cannot help you with that one.
In the text, there's also a list of what is considered like a standard home
So
occupation.
if I'm a business employee and I work from home as a sales rep, and then you're saying I have to get a permit?
No,
for it?
that's not what this falls under.
Okay.
No, sir. This would be as if you were the business owner.
If I was a business owner, started my own business out of my house, and I'm one employee, owner,
If
seller,
you were-
everything, I have to get a permit.
If you were doing
No,
some-
it's just saying you're
It's permitted.
permitted to do it. It's allowed.
So okay.
yeah.
You don't have to have a
Same general
permit.
permit.
It's just
It's
permitted
just
to be
permitted to
there.
do there.
Yes.
You don't have to have a permit to have a
Yeah. I've been
There's
doing it
like,
for
you
years,
can
and
watch
never had
so
a
many kids, after so many
Yeah.
kids, then it's considered an in-home
Yeah.
daycare, and that falls under a whole different category.
Yeah, we'll get into that on another page here in a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's, a bunch of dump trucks in your yard is considered a illegal home occupation.
Mhm.
Things like that, especially when your employees are all parking their cars and we're dealing with that one already.
So is there anything on page 4, this temporary uses, that anybody has an opposition to? Okay, page 5. Amusement and recreational purposes. This is another one where you'll see a couple that go all the way across the board. So athletic field or stadium, that's public. That one's allowed across the board. Park or playground private and a park or playground public is allowed across the board as well. The thought process behind that is a park would never be a bad thing to a neighborhood, is the idea. That one is not regulated at all. That's just the idea behind that.
Gives kids something to do other than bad stuff.
And gives
Busy.
developers the easy ability to build pocket parks into their developments and things like that.
A lot of them are like that in Dallas. Fort
Mhm.
Worth.
Yeah. Is there any other issues y'all have? Any issues y'all have on page 5? page 6. We're now getting into the area where a lot of things will not be allowed in residential on the coming pages.
Do we really want to give sexual oriented businesses a
You have to.
You have to give them at least one.
So you can regulate, you
Try.
can't regulate that, but you can regulate tattoo studios?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Currently.
right here in the city?
And we put-
Now, mind you, that
we put
is,
tattoo studios places though.
Well, it's conditional.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it says sex
yeah.
oriented business.
I know, I
It's
saw
like,
that.
okay, so we don't need a whorehouse in this town.
that's one
That's a
that,
little different. I don't think that falls under sexually oriented
No.
business.
so that if you read after, it says sexually oriented business, and then it says regulated by additional city codes. Do y'all already currently have an SOB ordinance?
It's in our zoning ordinance, I think.
Okay, you're probably gonna wanna pull that out and make it separate for the
I'll
purpose.
double check it, but I think it's tied in.
Yeah, we can pull it out and adopt that.
I may already have it pulled out. We
Yeah.
may need to modify it though.
So that's a separate ordinance, and then in that version of the, in that additional city code, y'all can regulate a little bit more strongly. So yeah, that isn't necessarily what this would mean. This would mean,
Your oriented businesses is gonna be like video stores that sell, some of the, what, I don't really know, smoke shop, head shop, whatever.
toys and
Want
stuff.
they have toys and lingerie and
Stores and stuff.
videos and magazines and all of that kind of stuff is gonna be more of your sexually oriented
What
business.
about strip
If
club?
they're,
those
You've
would
got-
fall-
those definitely,
You're
but,
writing ordinances where it can't be so far from church and all this
Yes.
stuff like. it's
those
supposed to be
already,
state
I think
law.
those are state regulations.
Yeah, those are
regulated
state.
on that.
part of it is, but not.
Like the bar part, so the strip clubs would be, because they have alcohol
Yes.
unless they do BYOB.
Yeah. So that, all that what y'all are discussing, though, that falls under that additional city ordinance. That does not fall under this discussion today. But you do, to answer the original question, you do have to allow them somewhere. Dallas has failed on a lawsuit on that. Houston has failed on a lawsuit on that. San Antonio has failed on all the big cities that have tried to just,
That would be like,
mix
go down
them.
strips like Harry Hines and Lover's
Mhm.
Lane and those, they're all in certain areas.
yes.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
I had no
So-
idea.
we're over in the business.
I
that-
call BS on that.
So
Well, I was
is there
in
any,
Parkland today, so I wasn't worried.
is there any other questions in regards to table 6? Okay. Table 7. Just because this was a question asked me by other cities, depository means finances, so money depository,
You still make those?
like banks,
They make those.
ATMs.
It's not open ever.
And
Their hours are definitely
From
getting
11 till
shorter.
2 o'clock, but not.
if you try to talk to them after hours, you get charged for it.
Hey, most of them you can't even call directly anymore.
Mm-mm.
You get like an 800 number.
Yeah.
We did try to use a little discretion on this because those are with and without drive-through. So obviously, if you have small areas, you don't want to drive through. Because the downtown has without.
Is there any other questions y'all have on table 7? Table 8. Why did it not print?
What are you missing?
Okay, for some reason, the asterisk under alcohol beverage retail sales got printed on page 11. That note would end up going on the current page. I do not know why it printed that way. That note would end up on page 8 in the final version. I apologize.
Resolution number 22-15, is that our resolution?
I'll double check.
I was just wondering, I don't recognize it, but that doesn't mean anything.
I can take that out too.
I've got to, well, we have, that's one that's gonna be coming up. It's gonna come up under our old ordinances, though.
Yeah, well, we can always take it out and just leave it as TABC rules and other local ordinances as adopted or
We're
amended, and
gonna
leave it as a
have
blanket statement.
pool hall coming up with, only the specific use for beer and wine.
there any questions on table 8?
So, like convenience stores without gas, why wouldn't that be downtown? I mean, just like a hole in the wall, 7-Eleven, like you walk
That's up
through
to
it,
y'all.
it has no gas.
That is up to y'all.
I mean, people get headaches and need aspirin. They're walking around.
That just falls on what y'all want y'all's downtown to look like. If y'all were to develop it
There will
downtown.
already be one gas station there. FYI. And it will have gas.
So are we wanting
Which
to
might be
allow
why we
permit?
didn't put it there. I honestly don't remember why we didn't put it there.
I mean, at that point, it just becomes a retail store at that point. It's not really a convenience store.
So
It has no
permitted,
gas.
we are saying allow permitted
Without gas.
without gas within downtown for convenience stores.
And there's stuff like the taxidermist and the little welding shop. I mean, some people have small welding shops and it's, you know, they're in their backyard. So I don't know. Will they get in trouble for just working on like, do they have a little lawnmower repair service or something like that? Or
That's gonna fall under your home occupation and I would have to look.
I mean, like
I
taxidermist.
think you're actually allowed to have a
probably a
lawnmower.
little-
Yeah,
shop.
that would probably fall under home occupation, not necessarily under taxidermy. When you're looking at the land use table and somebody's wanting, think about it this way, if somebody's not gonna come to you for a zoning change if they're doing taxidermy out of their home, out of their garage. This would be if somebody wants to come in and make a taxidermy
Okay.
store.
I'm just saying, but they're not gonna get in trouble for doing it. It's on a small scale.
No, if
Somebody
they're,
complains about it.
no, not on a small scale. As long as they
I
don't
don't
have
know what
employees.
chemicals are involved in that, so I
Yeah.
can't 100% tell you yes or no, but
What are you thinking about doing that?
No, I'm just saying, I know taxidermists are small and little small welding shops, you know, they just do little small repairs on gates and stuff like that, you know, so it's not like it's a huge business, so.
As long as there's no employees, no increases to traffic, no, on a small scale, it would not be
no loud noise.
outside of normal hours. Okay, anything on table 8?
Can't have airports in residential. What's gonna be north on
I
that?
don't know, have you seen how many of those are crashing? You still want one next to your house?
Table
Why
9,
we have 4 come down over the weekend?
You're ahead of us.
Been a lot.
is there anything on table 9 that y'all would like to see changed? I would also like to note that a lot of these also have additional regulations put on them within the zoning ordinance as well that we've taken out of the old ordinance. So they would have to be within these districts and they also would have additional regulations put on top of them.
So like boat, marina, dealership, light industry, makes sense, but we have no light industry, right?
So they would have to come to you and ask for a reason.
Okay, okay.
Unless they already exist.
Yeah.
We're working on
Well, we need a real one, not that one.
that. There's a couple.
You know, anywhere we can just pull the boat up there and get
Right on the
serviced.
lake.
If one were to come in and wanted to be developed, they'd come to y'all for a zoning change, and then at that point, y'all would go through the zoning change process. And they would have to prove that's why it's,
But it needs to be either permitted or conditional on here for them to do that too, right?
Well, it's on there, I'm just saying we just don't have any light industry on this map right here.
yeah,
We do, but it's also business park. It's got a business park overlay on it.
Okay.
well,
So they can put
no,
them right
there's
around
no
there.
light industrial on y'all's map, there's just.
Oh,
business
that way,
park.
that's on the future
That's on the
land use
future
map,
land
has
use
light industrial, but we did it as business park on the zoning because of what's going there.
Yes. Yeah, it is allowed, it is permitted under light industrial, so they just have, the only one on this chart that is not allowed would be the auto wreckage and salvage yard. As usage changed, that would no longer be allowed. Okay, table 10, unless anybody has any issues. You'll see where it says see supplementary development standards for all the towers, that is because y'all have a whole section within the ordinance for anything regarding antennas or towers. They have a lot of rules.
Yes.
Well, with the fiber here now, why is anybody still using them?
Well, you got cell towers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Verizon.
but you meant,
Mobile.
you meant like CIP.
No.
No, but yes, a lot of people are still using
I'm
it.
still using it, so slow and expensive.
Those, that's kind of different. It's a different kind of tower they put on the house.
Yeah.
These are like the towers.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That you see going up.
I think
They're
the
like
height is, it has
75
to
by
be,
75, and they're like 200 foot up in the air.
I think it says like it has to be over 75 feet or something like that to go within this. Is there anything on table 10 that y'all see any issue with? Table 11. Oh, now I see why you were asking me about taxidermy and welding shop. I was confused earlier.
I was ahead.
I was
You
like,
told me to jump to page 11 and I started
stayed
reading.
there.
And I just started reading. So,
On the manufactured home, sell, use, I'd like to see a C on that one under industrial. Well, I guess empty means it's not permitted, right?
yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Empty means it's not allowed at all.
Okay, so then the microbrewery under downtown district, I'd like a C on that. I think that would be good in the downtown district.
yeah, they changed.
What?
And then you
My-
make sure give me a
Microbrewery,
store
where they make
right next
their
to
own
it.
beer and then have a restaurant and stuff along with it.
We have it as conditional, I believe, right?
Oh, we
It's
might
still
have done
permitted, you just have to
additional.
get another permit.
Yeah, you just, the only reason why,
It means you guys would have to approve it.
and the reason it's conditional is because typically that level of doing the brewery would require some, machinery and some stuff, some bigger trucks and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we did this conditional. So y'all would have the ability to approve, even though y'all all want it, y'all would tell them yes.
We thought it'd be cool in downtown too, which is why there's a C, because there wasn't anything.
Yes.
And microbreweries don't usually
So you did it under general
outsource. They
conditions
usually just
Yeah.
make it and sell it
Mhm.
on premise. So
Mhm.
instead of in the downtown.
We did it as conditional,
Yeah.
under general, commercial, multi-use, downtown, and permitted in industrial.
Okay, is there anything that y'all see as an issue on this table, table 11? Apparently some of us have been on this table for a while.
Hey, it's not stuck anymore.
Okay, now we're on table 12. Is there anything?
Oh, hey, there's our airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
understanding
he
now.
wasn't stuck there for a minute.
sorry. So, yeah, don't read too slow.
Is there anything on table 12 that y'all see an issue with?
Where is our light industrial and industrial on this map?
There is none. So there is no light industrial or industrial currently zoned within the city limits. It is a possibility, so somebody can come to the city and ask to have a piece of property rezoned to be light industrial or industrial, but currently the city does not have a place for it.
And they could do that in any of the commercials.
We'd have to rezone.
They'd have to,
Right.
they could do that anywhere, they just have to come ask for a rezone.
So a lot of these things that are permitted on those, unless somebody came and got it rezoned,
We'd have to.
They
we'd
wouldn't
have
allowed
to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why we've gone with no industrial is because of the type of y'all's town, the level of development y'all have, the amount of neighborhoods y'all have almost everywhere. It's really hard to put an industrial area somewhere unless somebody can come and prove it.
Right, and they can always do that back in the
Mhm.
back somewhere.
Okay, so no issues besides those two. I've already made those two revisions. Of course, if there's for some reason y'all decide to take this up as reading homework over this next week and y'all will have something, send it to Shannon and I will get anything else changed. However, from the sounds of it, this is good for November 6th. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Last zoning discussion. I know y'all got sent home with the zone. Some of y'all took the zoning ordinance home. I know you sent it out as well,
Everybody has it.
before the last meeting.
I don't know how many people brought it.
I brought one back.
Two, I think I might have one or two back there that you don't need them.
You know
We
what?
have over it.
We already went over this one, right?
Yes, so we went over it last time. If there's nothing else that y'all would like to see changed, then we're good. The only
She did add some.
Those corrections and stuff, they've got that.
There was corrections, yes, that was gonna be the thing that I needed
I mean,
to
I
screen for.
Yeah,
but-
so we were gonna put it up there, but her computer won't connect.
Okay,
I think
so,
we went over all my comments here, so
Yes.
I don't have any more.
And she made all the changes to the charts and the square footage
So-
and all of that. That was all she fixed.
I saw that in the new ordinance already. Today.
And then you're adding what we talked about.
right, that was already,
Well, no, I mean, tonight you said it will.
Oh,
be
yes,
in the
I'll
text, but
I'll
not-
add that applicability one, yes, ma'am. So yes, all the tables were updated, so all the comments that were regarded last time, so things about SF 7.5 not being the right calculations, it is not the right calculation. Setbacks, side yards, rear yards got changed as we discussed. Everything now has the proper rear yard setback, front yard setback type of thing. I will say, just to comment, rear yards on the chart might still show a little shorter than what you think. I think most of them got it. Oh no, most of them are now 25 feet. So most of them are 25 feet as we discussed. But then also within the text, as I was going through making all these changes, I wanted to note that that 25 feet, specifically on multifamily, that rear yard setback is for if there is a garage on the backside. If there is no garage on the backside, then it shortens down to 15 feet, I believe. within there.
Did you send an updated one?
I don't have it.
Oh, okay. I didn't see one, so okay.
I was about to say, I can
I
send
don't
it right
have it
now.
That's okay, just we
She can send it to me and I'll send it out to everybody tomorrow.
Once she adds,
She
Then it'll
didn't.
Yes,
She
I will
didn't
add,
have the completed version until she got here either. She was driving and someone else in the office was making some changes last minute for her, so we just,
I was on a 3-way phone call for an hour.
yes.
We're good. I was going through Dallas.
We had the city engineer on the phone, her on the phone, me, and we're literally phones just stacked. It's crazy.
September 19th is the old one, the last one, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's the old one. You don't have the updated one. I just gave you the one that everybody else had because you said you didn't get it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So,
Why, but
Oh, wow.
so those changes were made that were in regards to last time. They were made both on that chart and throughout the entire text of the document. The other thing that was added was the highway corridor overlay district. So this district was added for the purposes that we discussed. All this is that anything that would be permitted or conditional within the general commercial district is now allowed within that corridor area. That corridor area now would be now used as general commercial. It then goes into the discussion of split parcel administration, how you would, how people would have to submit a plat to you if they chose to do this, site plan review, all that kind of stuff, how they would have to submit it to you to make sure that's done. The downtown district in the last ordinance got changed to a downtown overlay. Quite literally, nothing of the actual text changed besides that it's now this use is on top of the underlying uses. All that got changed. And then the last thing that was changed since the last time I was here was we added Articles 23, 24, 25, and 26 and 27. So those would be articles, communication antennas and support structures,
those are the towers.
mobile food vendors and food trucks, short-term rentals, salvage, automotive and wrecking, and then storage containers and cargo. All those got added. So those were pulled from y'all's previous
Yes.
ordinance.
Now, the food truck one's probably gonna change because all the laws for that changed.
You were correct.
And July 1st, there is, okay, so
No, we
currently,
added this after we talked about that. This just says that they have to be on the foundation bases and that there has to be
okay,
the proper driveway and that there has to be proper, parking spots for cars to go,
so
so
you
not ending.
modified stuff in there.
Yeah. It's not just, you can only be, yes, that is applicable to the new
Yeah.
rules and regulations.
But
Food trucks and stuff are county regulated, right?
currently,
Yeah.
so currently, a food truck has to have your county health inspection,
Commissary.
their permit, they have to have a permit from the city, okay?
Food trucks.
I make sure they have all the county stuff, and then we give them a 1-year permit. In July 1st, that will change. We, as far as I can tell, will no longer be able to issue a permit. We can't charge them for a permit. They will not come to us for a permit.
Right.
They will not go to county for a permit. It is all state regulated. Now, The state does not have the manpower to do it, therefore, I believe they will still have the county doing it, but it will be a state issued permit that will be good all over the state. They will not go get individual permits anymore. And that is because basically when they have to get a county permit and then a city permit, and then they want to go this county and this city and this city and this city, they're getting permitted to them. And so the state said, we have to fix this.
So
And so
how
this is
does
their
the
fix.
cities get sales tax?
I honestly do not know the answer to that yet. I don't know how we currently get sales tax.
So
Oh,
under the new
but
state
the drugs-
regulation, a city can't even not let them come in?
We can control it by zoning.
You can control where they.
Yes, we can control where they're allowed to
Well, I
be.
mean, it's fine being here, but
Uh,
we're paying sales tax. If we're
I
paying
don't
sales
know how
tax,
the
the city
sales
should get
tax
the sales tax.
Works on that. I've asked that question. I haven't gotten an answer really to that. I do not know how sales tax on food trucks works. I do not have the slightest clue.
Well, we used to have commissaries and all this stuff to clean their trailers in and all that
And they
stuff.
still will have to, but it's all state regulated. They just won't be getting individual permits. Now, code will still have, and the health department will still have the ability to go in and say, wow, you have mice in your trailer, this is a problem, and we can close them down. It just won't be that we won't be issuing permits anymore. They'll have to have a state permit. Now, I can check their permit.
Mhm.
And if they don't have a permit, we can close them, but they still have to have a permit. It just won't be from us, and it won't be from county. It will be from state. And that starts July 1st of 2026.
So the health and the fire inspection kind of thing, is that through the city still here for food trucks?
The health is not. I mean, we have the ability to check them for
So all those
health
things
and
are gonna be,
safety, but everything is inspected through the state. Which I believe will be done through the county. But it will be a state permit.
So those are all the changes that have been made to the ordinance since last time I met with y'all. I will make those last two changes of adding the applicability line, making the two changes to this table, putting these tables actually into the ordinance. And then I will send that to Shannon hopefully tomorrow, and then
And
she
I'll
will
go
send
through it
that to
again
y'all.
one more time.
She'll go through it again, and then
Actually, I'm
send it
gonna
to
go through it a whole lot more times, but I'm gonna go through it at least one more time before you guys see it again, which will be for the public hearing, which published yes. No, it's published tomorrow. It'll be in the paper tomorrow. It will be for the 6th November.
So now we're gonna move on to subdivision regulations. So we're done with zoning discussions, unless y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, regards to everything we've done for zoning.
Nope.
Perfect,
All
okay. On to, do you have to?
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
move on to
sorry.
item C, presentation and discussion of the proposed subdivision ordinance of the city of West Tawakoni.
Perfect, there we go. Thank you, sir. Sorry, I did not know we were two different line items. Okay, so I did receive comments in regards to the subdivision regulations. Those got sent over to the city engineer for her review as well, because PMI is not an engineering firm. We do not have engineering licenses. We do not make engineering decisions. We put that to y'all's preferred professional.
We have an engineer.
Some that were changed, just to kind of go through the ones that have already been updated within the text.
The 15-day thing, changing to
The-
30, right?
Yes, but hold on. These are the ones that have already been made, i.e. they were made prior to our hour-long phone call earlier. So the first one would be, in the original one, bar ditches under 1 acre was a concern that got brought up. So this got resolved, and no bar ditches are allowed for lots under 1 acre. That is resolved and fixed. Fee schedule and outside review, that is another one that was brought up as a concern. That is not necessarily fixed within this. That will be a separate ordinance that the city will put in place once this is adopted. That is a separate. So while yes, that needs to happen, and I can understand the concern that some of y'all have brought up, it's not necessarily something that would be part of today's discussion. if
That's
that makes
something
sense.
I will be working with, like the city engineers with, to come up with deposits for different, like we know feasibility for one house is gonna be $300. but a deposit for 5 houses is different. A deposit for 10 houses would be different. So we're gonna come up with fee schedules for different things. Those things are gonna be feasibility studies, civil infrastructure reviews, drainage studies. Those are all things our city engineer is gonna be looking at that are gonna be added to the fees that we already have in place. And I'm sure some of those are gonna be changing too.
The next one that was automatically corrected was changing septic lot sizes. So we went ahead and changed it to 1 acre instead of 1.5. However, it is worthy to note that if the city wants it to be larger than that, it can be. I also want to note that while the city does not have septic within the city limits, and y'all make that, y'all do not do septic within the city limits, they must be on city sewer. That is correct, that is true. However, subdivision regulations are applied within your ETJ. The city does not have the authority to regulate if in the ETJ somebody wants to be on septic. So at that point, you go to the Sabine River Authority and the TCEQ for those regulations. So they still are included in your subdivision regulations because you can enforce within your ETJ. However, there will be an addition in the next version of the subdivision regulations that you get that will say this only applies for areas within the city's ETJ and not within the city limits. And then at that point, they must listen to the other powers that be. Scrolling. The next one, there was an issue with sidewalk widths that got updated. Originally in the subdivision regulations, it was 4 feet. That has been changed since the original version of this was made back in 2018. So we have to do that to 5. Hydrant spacing, we added that to be 500-foot spacing. And then we also went and double checked on drainage discharge. So it was already written in there that it had to limit drainage discharge on other pieces of property. We just went in and reworded that to no increased runoff on any other neighbor. That was already resolved as well. So those are some things that have already been changed within the ordinance before we start talking today. However, the other comments that were made up, that were given, are more decisions on everybody's behalf. So that's where we go into the next discussion. So I'm going to go down this list on comments that were made for everybody's discussion for us to kind of move forward and how we would like our team to proceed. And then I can also discuss, from an engineering standpoint, those types of things as well. So the first one is in regards to the submission date. Originally within the text, that is 15. Shannon has already made the comment that needs to be up to 30 minimum.
I already require that now.
Okay, good. So even 30 is kind of hard, especially when you go to consultants.
Even with that said, because we have a 20-day publication period.
Mm-hmm.
So we publish 20 days before the date of the hearing. Sometimes I have to publish almost a week prior to that because they only publish certain days. So if they get it to me and it's after that deadline for me to be able to hit it, they're going into the next month and it pushes them to almost 60.
Right. So I know it's a state law just for plats, right? Plats and zoning or plats that they be acted on within 30 days.
Oh, I think that's actually plats.
So,
I think it's also zoning, and I think it's anytime they ask for a public hearing, actually.
But there is a loophole to that. Every city requires that loophole to be processed. Otherwise, basically, the city says, all right, you either sign a waiver of your rights in 30 days, or we just automatically deny it. Because we don't have time to review it, because 30 days is a joke. Nobody can review something detailed in a 30-day. Get comments, address comments back, get to a planning zoning, and then get it to a city council. Especially in a small town when we only meet once a month.
Yeah, and if I may, this whole discussion with this last legislative session is what he is referring to. They came out and they gave even more power to the developers, and developers now have pretty much fast-tracked it to where cities have to make these decisions within 30 days. And then the loophole that he has discussed of the waivers to solve that issue. But on the subregs, we can update that to 30 for the minimum. The next discussion that was brought up was that again, all these are up to discussion of the board. These are not decisions. The next one that was brought up was that plan development should be at a minimum 10 acres. Currently, the minimum is at 5. I did go out and do research on other small cities There is some cities that go even as small as 2 acres for a planned development. So 5 is kind of in that middle zone. This does not mean that every 5-acre property is a planned development. It just means that they decided to go and subdivide and then fall under subdivision regulations, that then at that point they would have to go into a planned development discussion.
Okay.
What is everybody else's opinion on that?
So I'll tell you why I made that comment. So planned developments are deviation from our city zoning, right? So typically, a developer will come in and they'll say, okay, well, we have this really fancy product that just doesn't meet all your regulations. Planned developments are a way that you could give a little bit to them as long as they give a little bit back to you. So it's a give and take situation where you can come up with a plan together. Maybe we get a park and to give them some better setbacks or something to that effect. And so when you're talking about a larger planned development like that, it's hard to do something like that on 5 acres. I've never seen anything under 10 acres actually in my career in any other city. So I've never seen a 2 acre, but that's where I came up with the 10 is because if you're talking about a little 5-acre property, I mean, they need to do it for the regulations because there's not really any way to give. Or
Well,
Go ahead.
what I was going to say is, while you are completely correct with his observation of how they've been used in other cities' planned developments, that is also what you would call a developer's agreement as well. What he is discussing, it kind of fall under those 2 different hats of what people would call it. Planned developments also have their own district within the zoning ordinance and how those are handled, what their regulations are, and what they are and are not allowed to do. So it's not necessarily that they would be able to make any give and take discussion. In a developer's agreement, sometimes that is the case, that it becomes a lot more fluid of a discussion. The way that it is currently structured in y'all's ordinance, and this has not changed, so even in y'all's printed copies, there's a planned development district within there, and those are the rules and requirements that they would have to fall under, which requires a lot of plat review, a lot of discussions with the city engineer, a lot of proving points and all that kind of stuff as well. The reason why we go 5, or the reason why it was in there is 5 versus 10, is if you go 10, you're creating a much more harsher development environment, versus if you go 5, y'all are still getting the final say at the end of the day. You can turn them down and say no, but you're at least allowing that discussion to be open on a smaller acreage size. So it's a little bit more of an opening developer discussion versus a harsh cutoff discussion. Does anybody else have any opinions on if it should be 5, 10, 2, 7, 6?
Well, we don't have much land left in this city. So when you're talking about a major developer to come in and grab up 10 acres of land, I don't see much 10 acres still on it.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think we really even have a lot
You
of.
don't have much land left.
Build.
And that one development up here,
I think
they're
a lot
building
of
now
ours-
is about the last.
5 is pushing it.
If we had a lot more land, I'd say, yeah, 10. We're trying to get developers in here. Maybe we stick to 5, and that way we've got them coming in, and 10 and scares them away. We can't even give them 10 unless.
The one between, this is Chris, the one between Bella Vista and Kirk, that's on that 13 acres or something like that. So there's a couple still around.
There's a couple, yeah. It's
And
not a lot.
And going smaller, like I said, I mean, they still have to follow all the engineering I mean, if they tried to come in and, you know, do smaller setbacks, but hey, those smaller setbacks are gonna cause a drainage issue, or hey, this is gonna do this, y'all have right to refuse at any point in that process, if y'all see it. But there is also cities that have bigger planned developments. I mean, it goes both ways.
We could go halfway and make it 7.5.
I have not seen a 7.5. I've seen a 2, I've seen a 3, I've seen a 5, I've seen a 10. Is there any decisions that y'all would want to make on that discussion?
I think it's land availability that's kind of pushing that issue on this one.
I think 5 for the size of our town and the size of the lots left to even develop.
So the majority says 5, so 5.
Okay, the next one that was regarded was in there, in the version that we have provided you, it said, per engineering standards in Appendix A or something along those lines. However, I did not provide y'all an Appendix A, because y'all do not currently have engineering standards. And the city that we had kind of copied this from, that city already had engineering standards in place, so their Appendix A was their own engineering standards. Y'all do not have those in place. My recommendation in regards to this issue would be that under that, we would take out that sentence, we would replace it with something that says engineering standards must be in alignment with North Central Texas COG until, upon the draft date of adoption of this.
COG or the IBC or in all of them.
Yes,
So-
Same
exactly.
year.
We're not
Now,
drafting our own engineering standards as part of
Not
this.
yet.
not yet. So what would happen is once that is done, y'all would make an amendment to your subdivision regulations to change it back to engineering standards as seen in ordinance number, whatever that ends up being. However, it is better to go ahead and adopt the subdivision regulations now and change that one line knowing you're gonna have to update it in the future versus holding off until that is done.
Well, I would rather see us adopt somebody's ordinance, somebody's engineering standards now, even if it's temporarily, than have none at
What
all.
our
That
city
is-
engineer is recommending is that we put in that it would fall under the most current version
Yes.
of North Central Texas COG.
Okay, so can we put that in here?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I said,
oh,
that's what I already
okay.
said.
Alright.
Like, North Central
COG and the
Texas COG,
IBC and
IBC,
everything else.
Do
yes.
most current is that way we don't have to go in and adopt a new one every time they update it. It just automatically will become the most current one once it comes out. And she recommended that for that one and another one too.
Yeah, we'll do that one. But yeah, is everyone okay with that process? Keeping in mind that once y'all do go down the route of developing y'all's own design standards, that would get changed.
How long is that gonna take?
Yeah, do we have any kind of plans?
Talk
for
to
that?
Jacob Martin, not me.
Yeah, that won't be something she does.
Nope, that would not be me.
And we can always rely just on North Central COG
Yeah,
too.
yeah, I know we can adopt anything we want to, if we
Yeah.
all agree to it, but I think we need something like this right now, they're just building
Well,
whatever.
the COG is only gonna dictate flat work, basically roads, sewers, like everything horizontal, not buildings.
Our buildings are dictated by the IBC.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm trying to remember if COG even has even, I think they do. You're probably talking about subgrade standards. And I think COG has subgrade standards, but I have to go back and look. So that people are building houses
COG
just on
are-
flat ground.
I think Christie said that COG covers like where we want them to do compaction tests for the
Right,
soil, for the
that's what we're talking about.
foundations, all of that should be under the
I
COG.
think it's in there, but I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure. So if it's in there, then that satisfies all these crappy houses that are being built on. nothing,
Right, it
literally
allows us
nothing.
to do more things.
So just make sure you put the current date for the book to use.
No, we're doing the most
Right.
Do
recent
most
version.
current,
Oh, current.
so that, like, no, you actually want it to say most current, not a date. Because if we put a date, every time they do a new one, we have to go
Yeah,
modify them.
modify it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
As long
just
as we're
gonna
not
say,
doing- As long as they don't have a loophole backwards, that's all
No.
I'm saying.
No,
it's gonna say
most
the
current.
most current.
I fought for many years for stuff like
Most
that.
recent.
Yeah.
The cities on my
So
ordinances
this-
in the fire business.
Mhm.
And the Jacob Martins, they're doing the testing and stuff, or they're gonna require, I don't know, you're gonna require the,
Nobody's doing it
I
now.
know nobody's doing
And
it, that's the problem.
within the
I need to find out if Bureau does the compaction test. If not, then the developer would probably be required to hire someone to do it.
Within the ordinance right now, it says, the city engineer, consultant, or whatever body needed, it would need to be. So y'all have typically it would be y'all's choice of city engineer.
So technically,
Whatever
we
that
could
is.
have Jacob and Martin go do the compaction test. Yes. Because they're gonna review all the rest of our stuff, like they're doing the drainage studies, they're doing the civil infrastructure studies, they're doing the feasibility studies, so we are, where we haven't utilized them a whole lot in the past, and I've been utilizing them the last several months, we're going to be utilizing them even more.
I think industry standard is the developer hires their own people.
But then
I mean,
you
they have
have
to be sealed by.
You're gonna have oversight, you'd have oversight of some
I
sort.
mean, usually you have your city inspectors that do.
All right, so we don't have city
No
inspectors that
real
are
engineers
involved.
that stamp it without.
We have Bureau Veritas,
But
so
yes,
I
so
call
you're-
in an
You hire
inspection, they
Veritas
inspect
to
and
do all
inspect.
your inspections, and I've dealt with
And
Veritas.
that's usually how it goes. So that typically they, like the developer will hire their testing firm, the city will hire their inspection firms, and they're together. So
Mhm.
there is oversight.
Yeah.
But the cities
So
usually
like if
don't
you
have
go
a
to
lab
Rockwall
to do-
County, they don't have anybody to do your inspections, so they hire Veritas to do all the inspections and reviews and everything of the building being built.
Just as long as they're actually
Certified.
doing the reviews, because.
Yeah. I mean, in
We
a town like
oversee
this, you
them.
just have to hire somebody, an outside source.
So
Certify
plan
everything.
reviews?
No,
Somebody-
Actually, the testing, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot involved
You
in
said
it. I
it's
mean,
very-
Oh, that's because we don't,
I've never
We
seen
don't
one.
we
require that
haven't
right now.
required that, so we wouldn't have
And
those.
that's what we're
That's
asking, how
what
can
we're
we get that
doing
required?
here.
That's this discussion. If we keep moving forward.
But they don't, like, what do they do now? Like,
There is nothing right now in place.
so
That
they're
is
just
why-
hired on just to be.
They check to them, they have to inspect to the minimum code, because that is what is required. And minimum code that we use is the 2018 International Code.
So they're only inspecting what's inside the building, basically.
They inspect the they inspect so you have a form survey that they check, you have the rebar for your foundation or the retention cables, if they do that. They do not do retention cables, sorry, I'm wrong, engineers have to inspect that.
So that's my
Then they
next
do
question.
the framing, they do the plumbing, the electric, the mechanical, insulation, that's what they do.
So when a home builder comes in, like all these homes being built, are they just being built without an engineer, or are we requiring an engineer to stamp those plans?
We have drawings.
And they're
Yeah.
stamped by an engineer?
Drawings, and then they go to plan review. The Bureau does a plan review on the drawings to make sure that they meet all the minimum codes.
So an
that we've
engineer is
adopted.
actually stamping these plans that these foundations are sitting on nothing.
The architectural,
Well, architects don't qualify to stamp plans like that.
and I don't know the answer to your question, so I'm
Okay,
not.
well,
being
maybe we can have a
loophole here.
discussion later, and I can I'll show you state law.
We just
These
require
houses
the
should have an
plans to
engineer
come,
stamp.
and we don't even require, technically, like an accessory building, technically with a add-on to a house.
So
even,
accessory
they
buildings
can-
probably don't require it because there's a certain square footage requirement. But a house, a living development house that you don't live in yourself, you can go build your own house without an engineer, but you
You
can't
can
build
build
somebody
your own as
else's.
an individual.
Yeah, you can't build someone else's.
But we don't necessarily for all things require stamped drawings, no. Because if someone wants to add on to their house, the contractor can literally hand draw it and do a scope of work specifying what the materials are,
Right, that's
how they're being
an
used.
add-on, we're talking about new construction.
But brand new construction, I have not done one that did not have, they brought me actual plans.
Whenever I built my house here in 2018, I did a compression test on the soil because I had to raise it up to a mountain and had that done, but I also had engineered drawings that were required at the time. So I don't know.
Which yours was a new build. Yeah, they bring me plans. They lay out the roof, they lay out the framing, they lay out the plumbing, it lays everything out. Now, the foundations do not have to be engineered unless they are commercial or
And that's the
5,000 square
problem with,
foot.
whole houses.
No, that's law.
Uh,
They do not have to be engineered unless they are 5,000 square foot or more or commercial. They can be done by architectural.
And the city has no say about it. Cause
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm-
I've poured a lot of foundations, I had to get permits and inspections and stuff back
They
then.
get inspections, but we don't require compaction tests right now. That is what we're trying to fix.
Yeah, that's what
It's
we're,
all
that's
of
what we're
this
trying to
stuff.
figure out is how we can get that put in
Um,
somewhere.
That's, COG will do that for us.
Yeah, that'll be part of the COG and then part of the design standards when y'all get to do that. We already discussed the septic issue earlier, so that is resolved as long as everybody is in agreement with that. Now, mind you, the discussion was that TCEQ requires an acre for septic, not 1.5. We can lower that to 1.5. However, that is also on, because it would be regulated by SRA, it's up to y'all on if y'all want to keep it at the 1.5, just push it down to 1 and then let SRA take over from there.
I don't know the difference in,
So,
TCQ and SRA's requirements, so I don't deal with septic.
so I mean, this, That's just
So far.
TCV's minimum. The minimum area to build a septic tank, septic system is 1 acre. So
Yeah, is an acre.
right now it shows 1.5.
Which the city has
Do we
the
want to
right
limit them
to
to
do.
that, or, I mean, that's up to us.
Yeah.
But 1 acre is a pretty big piece of that property, so I don't know.
That's plenty of room to put in a septic system.
Because really, technically, an aerobic system is 1.5 acre.
Right.
Mhm.
So, and most people put in aerobics now.
That's a minimum or a max?
Well, TCQ's minimum, or a minimum 1 acre. Some counties have regulations that lower it to 1/2 acre, but I don't think we need to lower it to 1/2 acre.
Yeah.
But
So-
I think 1 acre is plenty for a septic system.
Acre, got it.
Yep.
I already discussed no bar ditches for lots under 1 acre. That is going to be revised, because of the most recent meeting y'all had, correct?
Yeah, I think we are probably gonna go with storm drains instead of bar ditches. For all new development, it would be storm drains. Because you guys had wanted that also, correct?
Yes.
And I know that council is probably gonna have that on their next agenda. So I'm 100% sure that will pass, so we're gonna automatically just put the storm drains in there instead of bar ditches for all new developments. The other thing that's automatically going in there is concrete streets pursuant to the North Central COG stipulations, no chip seal, no oil sand, no asphalt, no nothing other than concrete with curb and gutter. And that is, they actually, council had that on their agenda last night, and so they voted to have that put in, which solved our problem too, because y'all wanted it too, so that made that a little easier.
Those will be fixed. We've already discussed fee schedule. The next comment that was brought up was stub every 600 feet is excessive. 2 stubs to neighbor is typical. This is a city preference on y'all's side.
So that was my comment too. So, I mean, look at these neighborhoods. 600 feet is basically saying like 600 feet, you'd have a road poking in every 600 feet like this. This is what she's talking about. So it's, I mean, it's excessive to me. I think 2 points, especially in our city. I mean, if you're getting to these bigger lots, maybe we have discretion, but 600 feet is a lot to put a step street. What is a typical block? So that's almost like having a step street every single block.
Yeah.
Or almost, or maybe every other block.
Yeah.
The only
How does other cities structure that? Because I know I've never done that before professionally. I have every 600 feet. Usually it's just 1 or 2 steps per track. I mean, if it's a really large track, I mean, there's more, but I can't remember how they worded that to get the extra stubs for larger tracts of land. but-
Typically, the 600 stub would just be because of that discussion of you have an extra long piece of land. You don't want somebody going in there and being like, oh, well, it only says 2, so they only do 2. I will say from a quick search, again, not an engineer, but from a quick review, 600 feet is somewhat consistent with other subdivision ordinances that I have seen. This is mainly due to emergency access reasoning, not necessarily thinking land-wise, but just thinking emergency access-wise. But y'all city engineer said it's y'all's preference as to what y'all think that should be changed to.
So emergency-wise, I'm thinking more like 1,000 feet, because 1,000 feet is a typical max block length for fire departments. I think that's usually a regulation they set, and I think that's in our, right? You put that in there, 1,000-foot max blocks.
Yes, I think.
So, I mean, it's up to that. What do y'all think? I just don't wanna limit all these little properties to a whole bunch of stub streets. That's what I was trying to not to do. But
Yeah, it's 1,000 foot. And it also cut all the way down the lot, and they'll have to allow for the roads too, and so it cuts all the property down, so.
I mean, we can leave 600 then. I mean, that's,
No, I'm good with that.
1,000 is
I don't think you need to cut them down any lower.
You have a question?
So they have good
Nope, I was just
in
reading.
and out.
Shannon, do you have any comment on that?
I was reading it to figure out what you were talking about.
I mean, I would say a stub, no greater than 1,000 feet spacing. So if you have a really long block lane, you have to have a stub every 1,000 feet.
Mhm.
So
1,000 foot stud minimum will go into effect. I will make that change.
and then that satisfies block lengths as well. I mean, because that would break a block.
So the next comment that was made was that all street intersections should be 90 degrees without any waivers. So right now, I believe it reads that it can be from 75 to 115 if a waiver, if the engineer can produce a waiver as to why it would need to be that way.
Oh, I didn't see the waiver in there, so.
I believe that's how it is written. However, if it is not, we can definitely change
Well,
it
I'm
to
fine
be
with
written
it. Somebody
that
should put
way.
a waiver because there's no reason to let somebody use a 75-degree intersection unless there's no good reason. Everything should be 90.
I
It's pretty much
believe-
standard
I
now.
believe it's a waiver. However, I will go back and triple double check. Are y'all okay with accepting it if there is that waiver put in place?
Yes.
Just for y'all's reference, y'all city engineer to that comment said that it was city's preference. They did not have any input on that part.
I don't know very many cities that would allow that. Usually, like, cities allow a couple degrees difference without a waiver. but
yeah.
Most of them never would allow 75 to 115.
No, I believe it should.
Because then even fire trucks can't turn around and
Yeah.
can't even make a simple turn, neither can a trash truck or
It becomes an issue.
site visibility issues.
Yeah. And we can always, if y'all have the discretion, we can shorten that. So instead of being 75, 115, make that, 80, 110. We can make it smaller if y'all think that the range needs to be
On which
smaller.
one?
For intersection angles.
Oh, okay.
I would say it needs to be 90 unless a waiver, and we can determine waivers, and an engineer can determine whether or not it's a legitimate reason to ask for a waiver.
Everybody else in agreement with that as well?
Yes.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay. The next one that was brought up was max lots. Usually, the comment was that they're usually 12 to 15 lots. Your city engineer said this is also the city's preference.
That's for a cul-de-sac, right? Then, so the number of lots on a cul-de-sac, what was we didn't even specify in there right now, do we?
I'm scrolling to it right now to be able to.
Our current one recommends it's either 5 or 6. I think it's 5.
Max 5 lots per cul-de-sac? I mean, that's pretty low.
No, well, that's per.
So basically, it's limiting
10
the number of
lots
houses on a
per
dead end
acre.
cul-de-sac.
Yeah, so
Right,
right
so
now it
that's
does not
several
have a
dozen.
max lots on that. It
Yeah, I
just
don't
says
think
that
we
they
do
cannot
either.
exceed 500 feet in length and shall not have a turnaround of less than 100 feet in diameter, those types of things. Now, mind you, another thing to keep in mind is if that's the fact that we cannot exceed 500 feet in length, y'all's minimum lot
Right, so.
With
it may not
this-
maybe meet this up.
is 80 feet, so you really can only fit a couple in there if that's.
Right.
So they have to-
And this
So
is
that'd be
already
about
greater
12,
than
so
what we
it's
have
About right.
currently. Because right now we only require 60 foot. So this is already greater than what we currently have.
So would y'all rather add in the minimum amount of lots to this? Or, as I mentioned, within y'all zoning ordinance, y'all already say, well, subdivision regulations that go outside the city limits. Never mind, nix that discussion. I was gonna say, y'all already limit lot width to be, I think the smallest one is 80. So 80 divided by the 500, you're not gonna get many in there. But since this is in your ETJ where you cannot enforce zoning, it might be useful to add a limit of how many lots you would like to see as the max around that cul-de-sac.
Well, if our minimum's 80 feet, 500 feet, that's 6.25, so that's 6 lots per side, so 12 lots total on the cul-de-sac.
That's about what we've been seeing.
That's just
Mhm.
mathematics, so
Yeah.
if you want to put that in there.
Yep.
That's what it comes out to be.
Do we need to specify that is if it actually reaches, well, no, we can't.
Well, you can't
It
exceed
has
width,
to
so.
reach 500 foot though. So if it's 200 foot, I can't have that many houses.
Right.
That would just pretty much limit someone stacking a whole bunch of lots around the actual
Yes.
curve, kind of.
They've tried.
Mhm.
Behind them, so that would eliminate that.
So I'll make that revision to 12 lots allowed, maximum of 12 lots allowed on the cul-de-sac. The next one was a comment in regarding the right-of-way of roads within brand new subdivisions. In the text currently, it says 60 feet. This was regarded as it would be excessive, was the consensus. Your city engineer agreed that a 50-foot right-of-way is typical, but this would fall on the city's preference. I can mention that the reason why it was 60 is because, like I said, this is city to city as we work on these. So the reason it was 60 is in the last city, they expanded their right-of-way to allow for things such as your fiber runs in that right-of-way, your utilities run in that right-of-way, your street lights, your sidewalks, all that kind of stuff runs in that area. However, it is still excessive. I mean, that's,
I
as
will
your
tell
city engineer
you
said.
So,
that in the last 2 weeks, a surveyor who was platting property actually said we should be at 60.
so right
And not
now,
less than 50,
a lot of cities are going to 60, but they're also going to wider roads.
which is why he said that. It gives us expansion room.
But if we're, that's said, it's excessive only for the roads that we're proposing. So that's where I was. I mean, otherwise we're gonna have a small road and then a massive parkway.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
why I mentioned the comment of,
And is it really beneficial? That's, I mean, it's one of those,
I think 50 is probably
I think so,
a
because,
good size.
when you're saying like the utilities usually go in the lot in an easement. It's not usually in the right of way. Like, Frontier never puts their items in the right of way, but unless you're in our city. And
Yeah, East Walkeny too.
But,
I was gonna say, I know this in Bryan, they did too. They broke all my sprinkler lines.
Yeah,
Fine.
they,
when they bury them, it's usually in their own easement in the front yards, outside the city right away.
So what about the culverts, with the culverts and stuff? Does that need any extra?
Well, there is no culverts anymore. We're getting rid of
I mean,
them.
we're just gonna have,
only in the new subdivision.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
it's not gonna be water ditches, right?
no,
No.
so that's what it says, like, we don't need that much right away when you have no water ditches, because everything's, all the structures underground.
Right.
You have a 28-foot back to curb, and then a
We're also
sidewalk.
no longer digging up our streets. You will have to have a bore. It almost is not going to matter where you build in the city, you're gonna have to have a bore, because there's very few streets that are water and sewer on the same side, if any. So they're gonna have to have at least one, because we're not digging up any more roads.
That's another thing. Who's paying for that? Is this the developer, the house builder paying for that?
City did that.
No, see, we shouldn't have done that. The developer, the home builder should have paid for that.
Oh, the city does wrote it.
I know, so I'm just giving you some advice. We
They
should not
paid
have
for the
done that.
taps. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons behind the, it won't be done anymore. We'd already been discussing it, and then that happened, and then that, I think, finally was drawn.
Well, in new development, you put all the taps in up front, so there's no
Right.
boring or digging, so.
It's the lots that are vacant right now that people purchase, and then they want to build on them. So then we have to put taps in. Well, water's generally on one side, sewer's on the other. In the past, generally, it's just they dug across the road and then they fill it back in. That won't happen anymore. Now, they will be responsible for paying directly. They will find the bore company. The bore company will work with our public works. They will pay the bore company directly. They will pay us for the tax. So that's how that's being implemented now.
So was there a consensus on 50-foot right of way instead of 60?
Mhm.
Yes, okay. The next comment regarded curb and gutter. Again, after last night's council meeting, that is no longer a discussion. The next question was in regards to the ADA sidewalks. Again, that was already fixed. That was a regulatory change and has been resolved. The next comment that was made was they thought right now alleys are within this ordinance. However, the recommendation that was made that there should be no alleys. Your city engineer made the comment that this is to the city's preference.
So I will tell you, and I think it will be on our next agenda for the city council on the 28th. I know at least one of our councilmen want alleys in the new developments.
Okay.
So what Chrissy's saying is this ordinance kind of gives it a 50-50, where if the developer were to choose to put them in, we have guidelines for that, but they don't necessarily have to.
Okay.
I don't know what will happen as far as that goes. I don't have an opinion at all as to what our council will choose to do on that, but I do believe it's gonna be on the next agenda.
So my opinion on alleys is, so I've sat through a lot of council meetings and planning zonings and residential strategies meetings, and the consensus is people don't like alleys. Residents don't like alleys. It increases crime. It takes away your sense of neighborhood, and it kills your backyard, and drives up home costs because developers are now putting in more concrete on the ground. It drives up your drainage costs because you're putting in larger pipes. So home prices are going up, and there's no really benefit to it. The next problem is our cities can't maintain our existing roads. How are they gonna maintain the roads and then an alley?
Yeah.
So that's why I said get rid of them. It was more for, I understand in some developments, especially like townhouses, you might want an alley. So that, I mean, some stuff like that, it makes sense, but I would say in a typical single family, most builders aren't gonna want them because most homeowners won't buy them.
And I mean, those are fair stances.
That would be in your 3-minute agenda-related comment.
Yeah,
I
so,
believe that is a 6:30 council meeting.
Right.
I'm just saying, that's the best,
I lived with an alley for almost 30 years. I hate them. There's all kind of things come up and down the backside of that road, and you don't know what's coming around.
I mean, honestly, we lived in a big city, we used them to cut through.
Yeah.
Your roads
Oh,
get
yeah.
busy, you're not sitting in traffic, you're cutting through the alleys. We did it all the time.
I don't even see how you could put alleys in the.
Well, the lots are too
Yeah.
small. We don't have a big enough
You're not gonna-
lot.
We're
this-
just trying to
this-
make our lots bigger, putting
Yeah.
an alley in would just put us
You have to
back
make
to
them all
where we
12.
were.
Yeah.
And then you're putting a garage in the back with a driveway, and now you have no yard again.
Mhm. Yeah, that's one.
are y'all okay with currently leaving it as is with the understanding of it's not a forced alley? It is a, if the developer chooses to have one type of subdivision regulation, and wait to see what the council says at this next meeting.
I would strongly voice your opinion.
Okay.
Because they're gonna get one opinion. You can give them another, and that gives them something to think about and debate before they make that
Right.
decision.
When I think it's fine for certain uses, like I said,
Mhm.
it makes sense for townhouses, but doesn't really make sense for, because townhouses don't have yards anyways. And people that live in townhouses don't want yards, so,
But they don't have much of one.
um,
I wanna make sure I'm giving you the right date. Yep, the 28th.
So is
It will be the next council, it's a workshop.
okay, so we can leave it for now and see kind of how things play out, but
Yeah, because I'll be coming
My
back on
opinion.
the 6th, so Shannon can tell me if there's a decision made at that meeting.
I'm sure I'm gonna talk to you a lot between now
Oh, I
and
assume so. So is everybody else okay with that decision to leave it as is for now until that meeting on the 28th?
yes.
And if you need my police record to take in there, just let me know, I'll give it to them.
then?
Broke through my
Yeah,
car and they
alleys,
stole
yeah,
all
yeah.
kind of stuff out of our cars.
Yeah.
You really got that?
It's 20 years ago. My
Um,
wife don't remember that.
I can vouch for it too over at Allen, at Donna's house.
so.
Bad stuff happens in Allen.
So the next one, the recommendation that was made was that water and sewer lines should be 8 inches. Currently within the text, it is 6 inches. The city engineer comment was that minimum line size of 6 inches is required. That is TCEQ regulation. That is, just standard requirement for a minimum. That was her input. Further discussion on this item, this doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna have, if they were to do a subdivision and they were to come in and they would have to follow these rules, that they would only have to do 6 inch. Part of the subdivision regulation is a water and sewer feasibility study. So if that got sent to y'all city engineer came back and said, okay, but y'all need 8 inch, 9 inch, 10 inch lines, that is still within the city's ability to mandate. However, the minimum that would be allowed, as long as it is feasible, would be 6 inches, and requirement with TCEQ and fire regulation.
This is the first time I've ever seen that before. I've never seen a city have 6 inches. Every city I've ever worked with is 8 inch minimum.
Every small city This is the opposite for
Again,
me.
small cities, I
Yeah,
guess that's.
We don't have any industry.
Yeah.
But,
Every-
the price difference between a 6-inch line and a 12-inch line is, negligible almost. The majority of your cost is labor, not the pipe itself, so it doesn't really make sense to limit that, but, I think the biggest problem is, okay, you're gonna do a feasibility analysis for the homes, but what about fire? Because
That would be part of the
That's part
we're
of
feasibility.
gonna make, okay, that's.
Yes,
that's gonna
because they
pretty
have
much
to put
dictate-
fire hydrants in every so many
Yes.
feet too. And the developer's responsible for all of that. So Christie looked at this, she's gonna run pressures. She's gonna look at how the distance, she's gonna look at all of that, and she's gonna come back and say, 6 inches isn't gonna be big enough, you need to go 10 inches.
Mhm.
We have several neighborhoods where our lines are 1.5 to 2
I'm
inches.
sure.
And that's part of, the problems because it's older infrastructure.
Yeah, and so pretty much the reason why it's 6 inches currently would be if you have somebody coming in and they're only subdividing into 3 lots, that doesn't necessarily need an 8-inch line.
Right.
They would still be allowed that 6-inch, but however, if you have somebody come in and try to put in 100 lots, well, then at that point it would be on Christie to tell you, okay,
Because
you
your
need a
pressure's
higher.
gonna be too low,
Mhm.
not enough flow, and you have to have a minimum of 6 for the fire hydrant.
Minimum of 6 for TCEQ in general.
Otherwise you don't have enough pressure for the fire hydrant to work.
With all of that discussion, do y'all still wish to have conversation on upping that to 8?
If the cost isn't anymore, might as well make it 8.
The other.
So, I mean, I agree with you on like, okay, subdividing 3 lots, but I would say if you're actually dividing up a actual residential neighborhood, it needs to be 8. That's my opinion. If it's gonna be an actual residential neighborhood with, it's being subdivided,
Well, then y'all have, at that point, y'all would have to set the rules on what you consider an actual residential neighborhood. Because right now, the way your subdivision regulations are put is if there's any subdividing of property, creating a development,
It falls underneath the
it
subdivision
falls underneath.
regulations.
So that would be if one parcel was going to 2, or if one parcel was going to 60.
all right, I'll do some research and I'll get back to you on that one. Because I've never seen any city allow down to 6 before. That's new to me.
Does anybody else have any commentary that they would like to give on that? I mean, Christie said 6. We only work with small cities. We've never seen anything other than 6, but I do know that bigger cities do require more. So, the only other thing I will just note, just for discussion, not to sway y'all in any way, shape, or form, but just to give y'all as much information that I have, is the other way to think about this is if you did go up to 8 and maybe for some reason that developer didn't want to do that, that's a reason for that developer not to come. Mind you, that is a very weak argument. I just want to give y'all all the information, all the thinking process.
Like you said, the
Well,
cost wise.
the thing is, I'm pretty sure 8-inch lines are actually cheaper
Yeah.
from the supplier because they're widely produced and 6
Mhm.
inches are not produced very
Yeah.
widely. So
No,
I think
you have
if,
points.
even if it was 6 inch and it said 6 inches on the plan, the supplier's gonna send you an 8-inch line.
You have points. I'm just trying to give everything. So, do we want to table that one until?
We can table it. I'll do some research. Get back
I
to you.
made a note, he's gonna research.
Okay. Awesome.
Sewer line's the same way. She said standard line is industry standard was 6 inch. And then if it needed to be bigger, determined by feasibility study and engineer review of development plans.
So that one's a little bit different, and that's gonna be largely dependent on how much our public works department wants to be doing maintenance. I would say 8 inches for a maintenance standpoint. I agree with that. They have to do a sewer analysis anyways, determine if it's gonna be 8, 10, whatever. But 6-inch lines are gonna clog a lot more than 8-inch line, so talk to your public works guy. See how much he wants to be out there snaking lines.
That's JD.
Okay, so that one will also table.
But as far as the pipes type for the, you about to get to that?
On the SDR.
Yes.
Yes. So this one, so the comment was SDR 26 is excessive, and as a general requirement, SDR 35 is standard for depth lines, SDR 26 for deeper lines or lines with excessive roads. Christie's comment on this was that the city preference on line size and pressure rating will be determined by the feasibility and engineering review. So she saw no issue with what was currently written because of the fact that this will all end up having to go through a feasibility.
So
review.
that's fine. But if we limit it to 26 and the feasibility says only 35, then we're stuck at 26. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So if we're saying the pipes have to be SDR 26,
Mhm.
and then the feasibility study comes back and says, no, they really only need to be 35.
35 is lesser, correct?
Yeah, 35 is a minimum pipe, yeah. 26 is a stronger pipe.
She said there wasn't an issue with 35.
Well, I think
The
it needs to be,
26 is just,
I think it needs to be minimum 35, and then, yeah, if it's a shallow line with a heavy traffic over it, or if it's
Needs to
super
be
deep and
stronger.
it's got, her loads, then
but
that's
she didn't say it
strong.
was city preference.
Mhm.
So,
So we want to change to SDR 35.
Not necessarily. I mean, talk to your public works guy, see what he wants to do. Because again, the price difference here is pretty extreme. It's not like a 6-inch water line to an 8-inch water line. SDR 36 to SDR 35 is a heavy price difference, especially when we're talking about an entire neighborhood. So that's going to drive up home prices. And it doesn't necessarily have to be. So just something to think about.
I'll get with him on both of those tomorrow. So it'll be tomorrow afternoon. If I have anything for you though, because we have court and then
Yeah,
we
no,
have a
you're
lunch deal. And then
I have 4 meetings tomorrow,
this will
so you're
probably
fine.
be a lunch discussion.
Okay, so is everybody else okay with those decisions that both for the line size and for the line type, those are gonna go to your public works department to make their consensus on those decisions?
Yes.
Okay, manhole requirements and spacing was the next comment that was brought up. Your city engineer said that all this is mandated by TCEQ. So in regards to our subdivision regulations, it's not that much of an issue because they would have to follow TCEQ requirements, not our requirements. Or not, we would not need to add requirements because they would need to follow the TCEQ already existing ones. I think, am I saying that right? That's what she said,
So
correct?
they regulate the manhole size and space requirements.
Yes, so you're right, but again, this comes down to city capability. So TCEQ requires 500-foot spacings, but does our public works have the ability to maintain a 500-foot spacing, or does it need to go smaller to 400, or what kind of? That's where I was getting at. I mean, you're not gonna go maximum, you're not gonna go over TCEQ, but you might need to go smaller if the city doesn't have the capability of maintaining a 500-foot spacing.
I thought maybe you were trying to go bigger.
No.
Sorry.
No, never bigger. But. So again, that's a question for the public works, but if they don't have the ability to maintain a 500-foot spacing, we either have to get the equipment to
I
do it,
honestly don't know
or
if they do or
we'll
not.
change the regulations.
So everybody else also in agreement, refer that decision to public works. Okay, next comment was the drainage discharge. We already discussed that. That's already been resolved. Next comment was, I believe, a miscommunication. So the comment that was made was, why is the city paying for the right of way? This is not typical. The way it is written within the text, it is written in a way that can be confusing if you read it very quickly. However, sorry, I have to scroll. What page are we on? 12-1. Okay, so in this comment was raised in regards thinking that the city would have to pay for the right of way. That is not the case. The way it is written is that the city may pay, providing the funds are available for street right of way in excess of 50 feet. So what this means that is if the city decided to make the decision that the right of way needs to be greater than 50 feet. So say y'all wanted to tell the developer, okay, it can't be, it needs to be 60 for some reason. The city has the ability to pay for that additional 10 feet if the funds are necessary and if the funds are available and if the city deems fit. This is not saying that the city is held to those responsibilities of paying for the right of way. Christy also read over that part of this text and agreed that that is how that would be interpreted by an engineer as well. Is that good?
Yeah, so the only reason I made that comment is because we had 60-foot right-of-way minimums for, and then we had a 50-foot that city was gonna offer to pay after for every 10
I
feet
knew
of
that's
every
what you were
road.
about to
That's
say.
why I was making that comment. Not
I know, it
necessarily that-
clicked in my head too
It
as I was
clicked as
reading
you
it.
were reading it.
Since
Yeah.
we're lowering to 50 foot, then that comment becomes fine.
Everything will be
But I just didn't want any
marked out
developer
now.
to come in and see that and say, oh, well, we're gonna get 10 feet of paid right-of-way for every road.
Yeah.
So the next one is in regards to paying and installing lights and signs, street lights and signs. The recommendation was that this should be at the developer cost. Christie made the comment that this can be at the city's preference. Who y'all believe should be paying for installing lights and signs?
I like developer.
The developer should. I've never heard of a city ever paying for that. The cities usually actually build their own signs, but we won't. We don't have a sign factory, but.
No, we
Uh,
order our street
Right,
signs.
so usually
And
you
then
pass
Public
that
Works
bill
puts them up.
to the developer. City lights,
We don't
This is-
really have a lot of those.
this
It's a new thing.
is unique because most cities, the power company owns the lights, not the cities.
Which is what happens here too. So
So,
I actually have one of those, and this just amazed Christy because she
And
hasn't
me.
heard of this. We have streetlights. I have one in my front yard, one in my backyard. I pay for those.
Yes.
If I don't pay that on my bill, those lights go out,
Right.
And then
and it's
Chris,
$10 a light.
so I don't know how they are structured in other cities, but I do know that all city streetlights are owned by the power company. Power companies charge the developers for them. The developer pays them.
Mhm.
They come install them. The city doesn't. The city doesn't pay for them.
FEC does all of that.
Now, I don't know how they're paid for at that point, electricity wise. That is something I'm not sure how,
I don't know how
They
other
come up
cities
with
do
that.
it. I know
but
FEC, you pay for it.
I know that's how it works here,
Or
but
your,
I don't know.
each block me.
That may be some research that figure out how other cities and electric companies do that, but
is everybody else on the same agreement as Shannon as developers should pay for the lights and signs? Okay.
But what if they come in after the development's already done? Because like on our street, we had one added and the person that owned the house where it was added on the corner is responsible for that monthly fee like what you're talking about.
I think that's anywhere out here though. I think that's gonna be the issue is FEC owns that, the city doesn't.
that's what I'm trying to figure out is who's gonna pay for it after they're installed? Because,
Right.
okay, you pay for it to come in and installed, but then who's gonna pay that monthly fee after
It's
it's
on the
installed
homeowner,
and
it's
they
on the
leave?
It's
homeowner.
on the homeowner.
But who? which
Unless they
homeowner?
worked it into an
Homeowner
HOA
or host.
somehow.
Exactly, so,
I was gonna say,
is it something that that they're gonna start establishing HOAs to pay
That's
all
what
the
I said, that's what I'm
streetlights
saying,
in their
unless
neighborhood?
they work
or-
it into an HOA, which.
And that's
we
maybe how
all
they're
work
doing it, I just
HOAs.
don't remember.
that one's outside of my knowledge.
Yeah.
And it even baffled Chris.
And I don't know how they do it in Dallas or Fort Worth or,
Yeah, so
you
it's
know,
like
big
you
cities. I
said.
don't know how that works. I mean, cities have lights up and down interstates. I assume the city
Taxes.
pays that
Sure, the
bill.
Texas
Yeah.
people.
I was about to say, in my town, they're
We don't
paid
have
by
that.
the city because they're on the telephone poles as the telephone poles
That's
go
all
down.
part of
Ours
And
are
the
on the
city
telephone poles,
Oh.
but we pay for that.
The individual homeowner, if we want a street light in front of our house, we have to call them, they'll come install it, and we have to pay for it monthly.
In
Yeah,
fact,
that's crazy.
so my house sits here and there's a street that runs obviously in front of my house, the one that runs here. There's a house here and here. The pole is here. It was connected to this light bill. So when they cut this power off, this light didn't work anymore on this guy's property. It's really messed up.
We won't get into all the questions and, how that works. None of us know. So, okay, we've made it through subregs. Did anybody else, those were the only comments that were submitted to me / to the city engineer. Did anybody else have any comments that they would like to bring up to be discussed today and or brought to the city engineer before we come back on the 6th? And then to summarize, we're gonna change it to the 30-day minimum. We're gonna leave plan development as 5 acres. We're gonna change everything to storm drainage, change all the streets to concrete, curb and gutter. We're going to change the stub maximum to 1,000 feet. We are going to remain with the wider angle for street intersections, but require that they have a waiver. We're going to add that 12 lots are allowed on a cul-de-sac, maximum of 12 lots. We're gonna change 60 feet right of way to a 50-foot right of way, and then we're gonna change that developer should pay for lights and signs.
And then I'm checking with JD on the other 2 or 3 and you're researching the other one.
And then the ones that have already been fixed would be the ones in regards to ADA compliancy and things like that. Those ones were already resolved.
So once the developer puts the roads in, are you gonna take over the roads, maintain them, the city's gonna take over them, or the developers, or is that something that's gonna be talked
I
about?
think that is the whole point in making them concrete is so that the city, I think, will end up adopting those roads, and they become the city's responsibility, which is why they want it to be concrete, because if an HOA basically can't afford to fix the roads, they're afraid that they will become the city's problem anyway.
As long as we're
All
following
concrete.
standards and it's gonna be built correctly from the ground up, and underground as well, then,
Yeah, because
Should be
So the streets will
concrete-
also go through civil engineering,
because they should have a
and
proper
they will
subgrade
be
base.
inspected as they go. Bureau, we have hired Bureau to do the civil infrastructure inspections now, which we did not do in the past either. So when we made changes in the city with personnel, we made other changes too.
I don't know if you noticed, anytime you drive down a Dallas Street, they have sections cut out of those concrete roads where they're failing.
That is
So
one
that-
thing,
that's
we
what they
want to
have to be- They
specify.
have to put people
They
in.
have to replace the entire section. They're not allowed, okay, so when you have concrete, you've got your road, okay?
Mhm.
And your concrete's done in sections,
Mhm.
usually. They can't just come in and cut a little section and replace it. They have to replace the whole section.
So, I mean, Dallas is really
They're,
bad.
we call them
Wait.
panels, concrete panels, so
Wait.
basically each,
I lost the conversation.
We were
And subdivision regulations is just saying that they have to put in the concrete streets.
Well, we're trying to make sure that they're having to follow some kind
but
of.
that's what we need to determine, make sure that's in
Design-
COG before
design
we
standards.
just
Okay.
blatantly say.
Okay.
it's
Sorry,
COG.
my
So
brain
it might be something that we
Tested in-
pull and modify just a little bit to make sure that they can't just come in and cut a panel, cut 2 feet out of a panel and come in and fix that 2 feet, because now you've got
an extra.
a gap.
Should make sure the road's put in right from
You
the
want the
beginning.
whole
The
panel
subgrade,
replaced, so that's something we gotta look at, figure out how to get it.
I believe that'd be in
Covered.
your design standards with the COG, hopefully, but we need to ask
We need to
Christie
double check
and
that one,
review
yeah.
that. She has more time with that type of documentation than I do.
We put in roads, we do subgrade stabilization, then base material, then, there's a lot to it. So.
And our soils out
If
here,
it's
we're
not
not
right, it's
gonna
gonna be
put
like, I'm saying, it's gonna be like the Dallas streets where they're all.
Right, and
Can't put anything on.
your stuff is compaction tested too, before you can even start doing part of that. My husband used to do the compaction testing, so when you asked about it, I actually knew what it was. This is the only reason I knew what it was.
Have all the certifications.
He did, but he did it in
Just saying I have them
Tennessee.
all.
So that is everything I have for tonight. From my understanding, we only have a couple changes to the zoning ordinance. Shannon is gonna review it. We have no changes to the zoning map. We had 2 changes to the land use tables, which have already been made. I do have some changes to subdivision regulations, and those will be made.
So once
Other
she
than
sends me all of that with the changes, then I will send it off to you guys.
You said you were gonna review the zoning first.
I will, but I wanna be able to get them the stuff to look at too. They can look at it at the same time I can. Especially because the last week of October I'm out. So it's gonna be at home with me.
Is there anything else that anybody wants to discuss? Any concerns, any comments before we take this to public hearing and y'all's recommendation next week? And I wanna make that as quick as possible.
Is there any chance that this next package that you guys sent us, the changes that are made are highlighted so that we can review it quicker?
Not anymore.
Did you get your mark, your little, what a pin up?
That's a you question,
I
not a
would
me
say yes,
question.
besides for the fact that we've already made so many changes and haven't highlighted them, that it would require a lot of
You're
time
not
to
using
go.
the lawyer legal stuff in Word?
I
can do it in Adobe, you can just pull it up.
And then I gotta figure out how to get rid of
Right.
it too, once I get it on there.
That's true, that's
I can make a comment when I send it to Shannon about what the main changes were. Because the main changes are gonna be every district is
You
gonna
have
be.
it on that piece of paper, right? You
So
give
she's
her a copy
gonna
of that?
send a
Oh,
little,
this was
breakdown.
subregs, but yeah, I'll send a breakdown sheet of what was changed on the subregs and what was changed in the zoning, so y'all can kind of know where to look.
perfect,
For
thank
those fixes. Because, yeah, going back and highlighting them would be hard. That'd be like 75 of the 200 pages.
Yeah.
So, okay, is there anything else?
So is this gonna be redrawn?
You can put this back up on the wall.
I'm supposed to give her a big finalized future land use map, and I will not be giving you a big zoning map.
But that's gonna go out there. It won't go in here.
Or this, whenever somebody comes and asks it, I mean, it's nice.
A zoning map will go out there too. By law, we have to have them.
It's nice to be.
And
able
you'll
to look at
also
this.
have digital files of all these.
Yes, plus digital, and then I also need a small one that I can just have in my office.
Yes.
So I don't have
Print
to,
you that.
so I don't have to go, hey, hold on just a second.
Just tape it to the.
Like right
back
now,
wall.
I took my phone and I took a picture of it and I put it on my computer so that I didn't keep walking out the hall.
Well, now you'll have the digital version and you'll have a small version and we'll get you a big, the only one that you're missing right now is future land use map. That's the one I need to get you.
Yeah, so I can get that one. I think we'll do a big one of that and put it out there.
Any other comments, concerns? Everybody think we're gonna do this next meeting record time?
Oh, wait, we did have more stuff on the agenda though.
Yes, we do have more stuff on the agenda.
I put it up, we were done.
No.
All right, we'll move on to item number 6, discuss and for action to approve or deny planning and zoning minutes for October 2nd, 2025. We have a chance to look at them.
I mean, we really just discussed everything.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from October 2nd.
I'll second that.
Motion by Teresa, second by Cecilia. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 7, citizens input related to non-agenda items. There's no citizens here, so we'll, go for it.
Okay, so I was at the city council meeting last night and we were approached about having a pool hall put in.
That's what I was talking about, yeah.
Yeah, that is, family friendly, like over by Dollar General, so that's gonna be coming up. I would think that comes back to us because it would have a different, it won't just be, it has to have that special permit.
It will have a specific use permit because of the beer and wine, otherwise they wouldn't have to have it. It's a property, the property that is literally up against the Dollar General.
So the one for sale right now?
Yes, that is the property they're looking at. We have to check the alcohol versus church distance. And then the requirements for the specific use permit, make sure they don't have to sell food because that is not an intent. They might have a food truck on the weekends, but I need to make sure it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. Otherwise, they're talking 12 to 15 full-size diamond tables, which are about $5 to $9 grand a piece. They're talking about TVs. How many of you know what a Speeds is? A full hall Speeds? Okay, no smoking, kid-friendly, person in there to teach the kids how to play. We have about 26 leagues in West Tawakoni, and we have a kids league, and they have nowhere to go. And currently, they're all going to other cities, right? So all these leagues, because it's ADA, their goal is you go to Vegas, you win money when you compete, and you compete up to a point to get to go to Vegas and compete. And right now they're playing on coin-size tables, so when they get to Vegas, they've got these big, nice tables that they're not used to. So the goal is to be able to host tournaments here where people are spending money in the businesses here, the gas stations, the new hotel, it will draw everybody in, but still be family friendly and not a bar. But it will serve beer because most people want a beer when they shoot pool. They will also have a little shop in there where they sell pool cues and gloves and chalk and all that.
Does
So,
this building exist or is it gonna be?
no, they will have to build it.
So being on that side of the road, that means it's,
It's on the left and
It's on
it's
the
literally
county
up
side.
against Dollar General.
how does the dry side versus wet side work?
I actually don't know because we have alcohol on both sides.
Well, 'cause one,
Now,
you have to
I
have
do
a private
know
club
one
on this
has to be a
side.
private club,
Yeah, all these.
but
are
that's
clubs.
liquor. I don't
Is
think
it
that's beer. I think it's liquor,
Because they were gonna serve wine,
beer and wine.
I think wine counts. I don't know. maybe
It's
it doesn't.
classified as beer.
is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
liquor is
yeah.
what you would have to go to the little liquor
Yeah,
store to
you're right.
buy.
They sell
So
that in
vodka,
the store.
tequila, whiskey, things like that.
Is that a Catholic church? They should have a problem.
So why is that like that? Because in Dallas, it's usually like a D1 overlay or D2 when you're talking about,
It predates all of us.
Yeah, it
Nobody
way
knows why.
predates us.
It probably needs to be changed, but I don't know.
well, and is
Well, the
that in
county
our
controls
capability?
part of that.
Okay.
County controls part of that. It's not just us.
It's been like that I was told it's been like that for 100 years. It's always been, you can serve liquor on that side, but not on this side without a private club.
Right.
So like it had to be a restaurant. You had to have so much
Like
in
this.
sales.
No, I
and food.
completely get it. We almost tried to change ours in Dallas, but we were gonna have to get so many petitions and do all this and bring it to our person that's over that area and stuff. And so, I mean, it is possible. I just didn't know why if we were involved in that or not.
So,
We'll definitely be involved in the specific use permit. I had them come to council first to make sure they weren't wasting time or money. Council loved the idea, so that gives them the ability to know, at least with some kind of safety net, they feel safe purchasing the property as long as they can sell the beer there. Again, we gotta figure out how the distance is measured from the church because I'm being told 2 different ways.
any other citizen input?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
This is like, I wanna go
I'd like to
home.
second that.
Second by Lee, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous. We are adjourned at 9:08.
So you're gonna be here on the 28th,
She's roping you into that.
the city council